Evelyn could still hear the echo of the bell fading into the walls when she opened her eyes. The silence that followed was too deep, like the church had inhaled and refused to exhale. Her throat burned from screaming, but no sound came out now. The air was heavy with smoke and wax, thick enough to taste. When she stood, her legs trembled, her body shivering even though the temperature hadn't changed. The altar at the front flickered to life again as candles spontaneously ignited, one by one, until the entire church glowed with a trembling, golden light. She turned slowly. Every pew was empty. The floor was coated with a thin layer of soot that stuck to her shoes. She whispered to herself, "It's not real. None of this is real." Her voice sounded small, hollow. The sound bounced off the walls and came back to her, but it wasn't her voice anymore. It was deeper, older, almost mocking. Evelyn froze. From behind the altar, the sound of footsteps began, measured, calm, deliberate. The kind of footsteps that didn't rush, because they didn't need to. A dark figure emerged from the haze, its robe dragging against the floor. The porcelain mask glimmered faintly in the candlelight, cracked open across the face. She backed away, shaking her head. "No, you're gone. You were gone." The figure stepped into full light, and for the first time, Evelyn saw it clearly. The mask split completely and fell away, shattering against the floor in a spray of porcelain dust. Underneath was her own face, pale, bloodless, and smiling with a terrible calm. Her voice came from that mouth now, but softer, smoother, like someone remembering a secret. "You've always been here." Evelyn's body locked in place. "You're not me." The other her tilted its head, studying her the way one might study a reflection that refuses to mimic them. "Then why do you remember my death?" The candles flickered, their flames bending toward Evelyn, like they were drawn to her heartbeat. For a second, she could smell burning wood, and beneath that, burning flesh. Images flashed through her mind. Fire racing along the pews, screams echoing under the church's collapsing roof, the bell ringing wildly above the chaos, and her own hands trembling as she clutched the altar, begging for help, not from God, she remembered now, but from something else, something in the dark that had answered. Evelyn shook her head violently, pressing her palms to her temples. "No, that's not me. I didn't die. I left." The double smiled faintly. "You didn't leave. You lingered. You begged to stay alive. And you did. But the church doesn't forget debts, and it doesn't forgive lies." Behind the double, shadows began to move again, dozens of them. The robed figures stepped out from the corners of the church, their porcelain masks reflecting the candlelight like tiny, unblinking moons. Their movements were silent, in perfect unison, surrounding the pews, filling the aisles. Evelyn's heart hammered. "Please," she whispered. "Please, I just want to go home. This is home." The double said softly. "It always was." The first toll of the bell cut through the silence like a blade. The vibration rippled through the wooden floorboards, shaking the candles. Dust drifted from the rafters, sparkling in the flickering light. Evelyn flinched. "Stop! Stop it!" The double raised her hand, and the bell rang again, louder this time. The sound made the glass in the windows tremble, made the air hum. Evelyn's knees buckled under the weight of it. With every toll, something changed. The light dimmed. The air grew thicker. The candle flames stretched higher, blew at their cords, and Evelyn's reflection began to appear in the broken shards of glass scattered across the floor. But each reflection wore a porcelain mask. "No," she whispered. "Please." The third toll. The reflections began to move on their own, twisting their heads, watching her. The fourth toll. Her flashlight, lying near the door, flickered and burst. The fifth toll. Her skin began to prickle, cold spreading from her fingertips to her chest. The double's voice came over the sound of the bell, calm and even. The church watches those who lie to God, and when they lie to themselves. The sixth toll shook the ground. Evelyn screamed and stumbled backward, hitting one of the pews. It cracked beneath her weight, and splinters dug into her skin. The air was vibrating now, like the whole church was alive. The masked congregation began to move closer, step by step. Their movements synchronized with the bell's rhythm, the seventh toll. Evelyn could feel her heartbeat slowing. Every breath came shorter, colder. The edges of her vision blurred. The double lowered her hand. The final toll rang out. It wasn't just sound, it was force. The shockwave threw Evelyn backward, slamming her against the front doors. They burst open under the impact, and she tumbled out into the graveyard. The fog was there again, thicker than before, rolling like smoke over the tombstones. She dragged herself to her feet, gasping. The church behind her glowed faintly in the fog, the windows pulsing with light. She turned toward the road, but there was no road, just fog and darkness stretching endlessly in every direction. Her voice broke as she called out, "Somebody help me, please." The fog didn't answer, but the whisper did. It came from everywhere at once. The same words, the same tone. "You came back to where you died." Her flashlight suddenly flickered to life beside a gravestone. She crawled toward it, desperate for something solid. When she lifted it, the light fell across the nearest tombstone. The name carved there made her freeze again. Evelyn M. Carter, 1931-1954. Her breath came in sharp, panicked gasps. The fog began to move again, swirling violently now, the shapes of the robed figures emerging from within it. Their masks gleamed white, and behind them, the church bells tolled once more, slow and final. Evelyn turned to run, but the ground beneath her gave way. The soil crumbled like ash, and she fell to her knees, hands sinking into the wet earth. She looked down and saw bones beneath her fingers. Not old, not brittle, fresh. Her breath hitched as she saw a hand in the dirt, its nails broken and bloody. It was hers. The earth beneath her began to pulse, rising and falling like a heartbeat. She screamed, clawing at the mud, trying to get free, but hands shot up from the ground, gripping her wrists, her arms, her neck. They pulled her down, inch by inch, as the fog thickened overhead. She fought until she couldn't breathe. The last thing she saw was her double standing at the edge of the grave, expression calm and eyes shining faintly. "You never left," it said softly. The world went black. When morning came, the storm was gone. The road was dry, and the forest stood silent. A passing truck driver slowed when he spotted a car on the side of the road, its headlights still faintly glowing. The keys were in the ignition. The driver's seat was empty. He hesitated, then opened the door. Everything inside was untouched, except the passenger seat, where a cracked porcelain mask rested, facing forward. The driver looked toward the woods. Through the trees, he could see the old church at the edge of the graveyard, its steeple crooked, its doors closed. For a moment, he thought he saw movement inside. A flicker of candlelight. He blinked, and it was gone. Weeks later, a young family moved into a small farmhouse nearby. The father, exploring the land one evening, followed a faint bell sound that drifted from the woods. It led him to the same church, standing silent under the moonlight. Curiosity won over caution. He approached and peeked through one of the cracked windows. Inside, the candles burned brightly, illuminating a woman kneeling before the altar. Her head was bowed in prayer, her hair falling in dark waves over her shoulders. "Hello," the man called softly. The woman turned slowly, her face calm, almost serene. For a moment, he thought she was smiling. But then the light hit her skin just right, and he saw it. The faint, cold shimmer of porcelain beneath her eyes. The man stumbled back, heart pounding, as the church bell began to ring again. And in the distance, under the tolling of that lonely bell, the whisper came once more. Faint, but clear enough to carry through the night air. The church watches those who lie to God, and when they lie to themselves, it takes them back. The rain came down in relentless waves, hammering against the windshield like 1,000 tiny fists. Evelyn Carter gripped the steering wheel tighter, her knuckles pale against the dim dashboard light. The old highway was deserted, not a single car in sight, and the radio had died 15 minutes ago, right before her car started sputtering like it was choking on its last breath. She cursed under her breath and guided it to the side of the road, where it finally gave up completely. For a long moment, she just sat there, listening to the hollow sound of rain against metal. The wipers squeaked to a stop mid-swipe, frozen in place. When she reached for her phone, she found what she expected. No signal, not even a single bar. Northern Maine had a way of swallowing everything. Light, sound, hope. Her breath fogged the window as she peered out into the darkness. Through the blur of rain, she spotted something up ahead, a faint outline that rose like a shadow against the stormy sky. A church, its steeple crooked slightly, leaning as if exhausted from holding itself upright for decades. A cracked wooden sign swung back and forth by the entrance gate. The words barely visible through the grime, St. Helena's Parish. Abandoned since 1954. Evelyn hesitated. There was something unnerving about a church still standing, when everything around it had long rotted away. But the rain was soaking through her jacket, and the temperature was dropping fast. She grabbed her flashlight from the glove compartment and stepped out into the storm. The wind howled like it carried voices. The road behind her disappeared into mist as she pushed open the iron gate leading to the church. The hinges groaned, echoing through the graveyard that spread across the front yard like a sea of crooked teeth. Tombstones leaned at odd angles, names weathered to the point of erasure. The ground was uneven, soft, as if it had recently been disturbed. Her flashlight beam trembled as she walked up the stone path. She could feel the weight of the church pressing down on her before she even reached the doors. The building loomed tall and narrow, the wood darkened by age and rain. When she grabbed the handle and pulled, the door creaked open with a deep, hollow sound that seemed to travel through her bones. Inside, the air was colder, much colder than the storm outside. The smell of damp wood and something metallic hit her immediately. She swung her flashlight around, its beam catching fragments of shattered stained glass, twisted pews, and candles melted into deformed lumps across the altar. The crucifix at the front was broken, Christ's face eroded away, leaving only empty eyes staring down at her. And then she heard it, faint, almost too soft to notice at first. An organ. The slow, deep hum of notes coming from somewhere deeper inside the church. The kind of melody you'd expect at a funeral, not in a building left for dead 70 years ago. "Hello," Evelyn called out, her voice shaking despite her best effort to sound steady. "Is someone here?" The music stopped. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was thick, like the air itself was holding its breath. Evelyn waited, straining to hear anything. A shuffle, a whisper, the creak of a board, but there was nothing. She exhaled, her breath fogging in the cold. Then, from somewhere near the altar, something scraped across the floor. Her flashlight darted toward the sound. One of the wooden pews had shifted slightly, dragging an inch closer to the aisle. The beam flickered as she stepped forward, her boots crunching over broken glass. "Who's there?" she demanded. No answer, only another scrape, closer this time. And then she saw it, a figure standing at the far end of the church, half in shadow. It was dressed in a long black robe, the kind an old priest might wear, though the fabric looked rotted and damp. Its head was bowed, hands clasped together as if in prayer. "Father," Evelyn's voice was barely a whisper now. The figure didn't move. She took one hesitant step forward. The wood beneath her creaked loudly, echoing through the hall. That's when the figure raised its head. Her flashlight caught the face, or what should have been a face. Instead, there was a mask, cracked and faded, porcelain white with painted eyes that stared far too wide, far too still. The mouth of the mask was slightly open, like it had been frozen mid-scream. Evelyn stumbled back. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." The figure began to move toward her, not walking, gliding. Its feet didn't touch the floor. It lifted one hand, bony and pale beneath the robe, and pointed toward the window at the far end of the church, the one overlooking the graveyard. Evelyn's heart pounded so hard, she could hear the blood in her ears. "What do you want?" she breathed. The figure tilted its head slightly, the cracked mask splitting further down the middle with a dry, snapping sound. A thin line appeared from forehead to chin, opening wider until she could see the darkness inside. No skin, no eyes, just emptiness. The church doors slammed shut behind her. The sound reverberated through the walls, shaking loose dust and splinters from the ceiling beams. Evelyn turned and ran, yanking at the handles, but the heavy wood wouldn't move. It felt as if something on the other side was pushing back, holding her in. When she turned again, the robed figure was gone. The air was still. Even the sound of the rain had vanished. Her breathing echoed back at her, too loud, too human in a place that didn't feel human anymore. She spotted a side window near the choir loft. Half shattered, jagged glass, still clinging to the frame. Without thinking, she ran toward it, pulled herself up, and pushed through. The shard sliced her sleeve and nicked her arm, but she barely felt it. She tumbled into the graveyard outside, hitting the wet ground hard. The rain had stopped. The silence outside was worse than the storm had been. A white fog had settled over the graves, thick and low, curling around her boots. She rose slowly, brushing mud from her hands, her flashlight shaking in her grip. "Keep it together, Evelyn," she muttered to herself. "You just need to find the road, get to a house." Her light swept across a row of headstones. The names were faint, covered in moss. She moved closer, squinting at one near the center. The letters carved into it made her freeze where she stood. Evelyn M. Carter, 1931, 1954. Her throat tightened. She stumbled back, shaking her head violently. "No," she whispered. "That's not real. That's not..." The fog shifted suddenly, swirling like smoke. Faces formed in it, pale ghostly faces with hollow eyes and gaping mouths. They didn't make a sound, but Evelyn could feel their screams vibrating in her chest. And then she saw them. Figures moving through the mist, identical to the one inside the church. Black robes, porcelain masks, dozens of them, gliding silently between the graves, surrounding her in a slow, deliberate circle. Evelyn's breath came in short, panicked gasps. She spun around, looking for an escape, but the fog was everywhere now. The masked figures whispered in unison, voices soft as wind, but clear enough to freeze her blood. "You came back," they murmured. "You came back to where you died." Evelyn turned and ran, tripping over roots and sinking into the mud as the whispers followed her, overlapping, growing louder with every step. The sound wasn't outside anymore. It was inside her head, clawing at her thoughts, each voice echoing the same thing. "You shouldn't have come back." She didn't stop running until the church appeared again through the mist, its doors creaking open on their own. For a moment, she swore she saw the cracked mask, staring from the doorway, waiting. The wind howled, the bell tower groaned, and somewhere deep inside the church, the organ began to play once more. The door slammed shut behind Evelyn as she stumbled into the church again, soaked in rain and trembling with exhaustion. Her lungs burned as she gasped for air, but she could still hear the whispers outside, muffled and haunting. She pressed her back against the cold wall, gripping the flashlight that now flickered weakly. The inside of the church looked different than before. Darker, tighter, as if the walls had shifted closer together. Every shadow stretched too far, and every echo seemed to breathe. She moved toward the front, trying to calm herself. "It's not real," she whispered. "You're just tired. It's just a nightmare." But the sound of the organ started again, louder this time, coming from somewhere above her. The notes were slow, deliberate, and wrong, like someone who had once known the melody, but forgotten half of it. Her flashlight beam caught a staircase she hadn't noticed earlier, hidden behind a fallen crucifix near the altar. The wooden steps led up into darkness, and the organ's sound seemed to bleed from there. Evelyn hesitated, then tightened her grip on the light and started to climb. Each step moaned under her weight, the wood soft with decay. The further she went, the heavier the air became, thick with the smell of rot, candle wax, and something else underneath it, something that smelled like burnt hair. Halfway up she froze. The steps ahead of her creaked, but she hadn't moved. Someone was above her. Her light flickered, then steadied, illuminating a faint shape at the top landing. She couldn't see its face, but it was definitely human-shaped, still as stone. The organ music stopped abruptly. Silence swallowed everything again. Evelyn took one cautious step up. The shape didn't move. Another step. Still nothing. When she reached the top, the shape was gone. Only the bell tower stretched above her, open and black. The massive iron bell loomed over her like an executioner's shadow, the thick rope swaying slightly, as though recently pulled. Her flashlight landed on the wall beside it, a mural painted in faded reds and blacks. At first, she thought it was just religious art, the kind you'd expect in an old church. But when she looked closer, her stomach turned to ice. The painting showed the church itself, engulfed in flames, the faces of the townspeople twisted in terror as they tried to run, the fire consuming everything. Near the bottom, in smaller detail, a woman was painted inside the blaze, her arms raised, her mouth open in a scream. It was her. The same brown hair, the same eyes, even the same jacket she wore now. Evelyn stumbled back, clutching her head. No, that's not me. That can't be me. But when she turned, something moved in the shadows. Hands, pale, cold, and too many, reached out from the dark corners of the tower. Fingers brushed against her wrists, her shoulders, her neck. She screamed and swung her flashlight wildly. But every time the light hit one of the hands, it disappeared, only to grab her again from another direction. "Stop!" she cried. "Let me go!" A voice answered. It wasn't coming from any direction. It was inside her head, whispering so close, it felt like it was pressed to her ear. "You shouldn't have come back." The hands tightened. She tried to wrench free, stumbling backward until her shoulder hit the massive bell. The vibration echoed through her body, deep and cold. The voice whispered again, softer this time. "You promised you'd never return." Her knees gave out. She fell hard onto the wooden floor, her flashlight rolling away. For a moment, the tower was completely dark, except for the faint glow from cracks in the boards beneath her. She could hear something moving down below, as though the entire church was breathing. The smell of smoke grew stronger. "Who are you?" she whispered into the dark. A breath brushed her cheek. "The one you left behind." Evelyn's pulse roared in her ears. She grabbed her flashlight and stumbled to her feet, running down the stairs as fast as she could. Her boots slipped on the damp wood, and she hit the ground floor with a painful thud. The church around her was lit now, but she hadn't lit anything. Every candle on the altar burned bright. Hundreds of them, their flames bending toward her as though drawn by her presence. The organ started again, only this time, it wasn't just music. There were voices in it, low, chanting in a language she didn't understand. Each note made her heart pound faster. Each chord sent a shiver through her bones. At the altar, someone stood waiting. It was the same priest in the black robe, but something was different. The porcelain mask no longer hid the face completely. It was cracked wide open down the middle. Evelyn could see skin beneath it now, pale and stretched thin. "Stay away," she whispered. The priest tilted its head, and the broken mask slid off, falling to the floor with a hollow clatter. Evelyn froze. The face beneath the mask was her own. It smiled faintly. "You remember now, don't you?" She shook her head, backing away. "No, you're not me. You're not real." The double stepped closer, each movement smooth, unnatural. "You died here, Evelyn. The night they burned the church. You begged for mercy, but none came. So you made a promise." Her voice trembled. "What promise?" "That you'd trade your soul to escape. That you'd forget the fire, forget your sin. You walked away from death. But you didn't walk far enough." Evelyn's mind reeled. Flashes of memory clawed at her. The roar of fire, the screams of people trapped inside, her own hands reaching toward the altar, praying for salvation. A voice answering her, not God's, but something else, something darker. "No," she said, pressing her palms to her temples. "That didn't happen." Her double smiled wider, though the expression never reached its eyes. "Then why does the church still know your name?" The candles around the room flared brighter, their flames stretching taller, turning blue at the edges. The floor beneath Evelyn's feet trembled. She turned and ran toward the door, but it was sealed shut again. She beat her fist against it, screaming. The bell began to toll above her. The sound wasn't just noise. It was a vibration that shook her chest, that made the air ripple. Each toll made the candles flicker and die, one by one, plunging the church deeper into shadow. Her double's voice rose over the sound, calm and cold. "You can't run from a place that owns you." Evelyn turned. Her other self stood by the altar, arms spread as though conducting the ringing of the bell. Behind her, the shadows were moving. The robed figures from the graveyard, stepping silently into the light, their porcelain masks reflecting the flickering flames. Evelyn's breath caught as she backed away. "Please, I just want to leave." The double lowered her arms slowly, her voice almost kind. "You can't." When the bell tolls for the last time, the sound grew deafening, shaking the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling like ash. Evelyn screamed and covered her ears, but the bell's toll was inside her now, vibrating through her ribs, her heart, her soul. Then, silence. She opened her eyes. The church was empty. No candles, no priest, no masked congregation. Just darkness and the faint smell of smoke. Her flashlight flickered once more, before dying completely. Somewhere far above, the rope of the bell swayed on its own, the sound of metal creaking in the void. And in that silence, she heard it again, soft and close to her ear. "You shouldn't have come back."
Please like and subscribe channel Fear Frequency for more horror stories. Thank you.